Hello, friends. Welcome to Insurance for Photographers. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you are a replay viewer, please be sure to put hashtag replay. I hope this didn't just click on that I just came on live. Let me start over. I think it did. Okay. Welcome to Insurance for Photographers. If you are joining us for the replay, please put hashtag replay in the comments. I'd love to know that you were here. If you are joining me live this evening, I'd really appreciate it if you could show some love on this post and just comment hello to me so that I know that you're here. I want to know who's joining me each week because this group is a lot more than just about alternative styled shoots. This is a resource for business and education to help up-level your business and help you reach and exceed your dreams. And I want to be sure that those of you that are participating are getting the information that you need. So by telling me that you're here, hey Amanda, it helps me know who is interested, and also just because I know who to go to when I want to ask, hey, how can I help you best? What are the topics that we aren't speaking about that you'd like me to touch on? So I really appreciate that, guys. If you are new here, welcome. I'm Becca Boschich. I'm a photographer, artist, and creative business educator in Orlando, Florida. I started this group because as a non-traditional photographer in the alternative niche, I was not finding styled shoots that really fit my niche best. And so whenever I find a need, I just create it for myself, and I wanted to share that with others. So I've started offering alternative style shoots myself and this group to help provide some business education as well. So tonight we're going to be talking all about insurance for photographers, something that I think gets put at the bottom of the to-do list when oftentimes it really should be pushed to the top for us. It's a much needed topic to be discussed. It's not as overwhelming as you might think. So I want to just touch on the whys, the types of insurance coverage you should have, and the resources for you to research so that you know who to go to for these services. Okay, so just like always, if there's any questions, just let me know and I will answer them in the comments. If you are joining us for the replay, go ahead and put your questions there. I am always happy to come back and answer these for you. So just let me know, okay? So let me make sure that I can see all your comments. Well, I saw Amanda, so she's here. And let me pull up my notes too. I just want to make sure I can see you guys and my notes at the same time. I never like going without notes because I want to make sure that you have all the information that I know is important for you to get, okay? So just as a disclaimer, I'm a photographer. I'm not providing the professional services of an attorney, insurance agent, or any other kind of licensed or certified professional. What I'm sharing tonight is what I have discovered through my own research, experiences with my personal certified professionals, and this video is only just to help you about this topic and encourage you to do your own research and to reach out to your own licensed professionals so that they can help you make the right decisions for your business. It should also be noted that I am speaking from the perspective of a photographer whose subject matter is people, okay? Not landscape, not product. So depending on the type of photography that you do, you might need particular types of insurance. So just do your homework, do your research, reach out to some agents who can help you with that information so you can explain exactly what type of business, the activities that you do, so you get appropriate coverage, okay? So you need to understand that insurance is an investment, and it's an investment to protect your, to prevent stress, debt, and bankruptcy. That's what that's for. And as a former dental hygienist, I know that a lot of people kind of struggle with understanding what insurance is. It's like they don't understand their coverage until something happens, and they're either covered 100% or maybe 20%, and they may have a little frustration or excitement about what that really is. But it's important to try to educate yourself about what you're really signing up for, because most of the time, not all coverage is going to pay out completely for all situations. And you need to be aware of that. But again, it's insurance to help prevent stress, it's to help prevent paying out of pocket, and to prevent bankruptcy. That can happen. The things that can happen from a simple photo shoot can be life-changing, and I don't think that people really realize that. So that's why this is a topic that I know is so important to talk about, and just want to make sure that you guys get all the information that you need to make the best decisions for you and your business, okay? So there's a lot of reasons to consider insurance. I'm just going to name off a few, but if you're a photographer who photographs once in a lifetime events that cannot necessarily be repeated, like weddings, births, maternity shoots, end of life shoots, those are a thing too. This is something that you really need to consider, because if something like an SD card corrupts, or you're traveling home and you stop at a 7-Eleven to go to the restroom and your gear's stolen out of your car, what do you do? What happens if someone's so upset that they file a lawsuit? What do you do? What happens if the gear is stolen and you don't have the money to replace it? What do you do? So that's why this is important, okay? You can have SD card corruption. You can have accidents like dropping your laptop, dropping your lens when you're changing lenses. There's all kinds of things that can happen. A client trips and falls while you're on a shoot, and they end up blaming you because you're the one that suggested the location in the first place. Things like that you really got to think about, okay? If your gear is stolen out of your car right after you went to a wedding, that's a once in a lifetime event, okay? So not only have you potentially lost your gear and you have to replace it, you are facing a lawsuit if you have a bride or a couple who is really upset with you and blames you for being negligent by leaving your gear in the car. Like, you can really haul all that gear into a 7-Eleven restroom. But you see what I'm saying? This is why it's important to consider insurance, okay? I can sit here all day and tell you reason after reason why you should get insurance, but most people don't get insurance unless a venue is requiring, a venue they're working at is requiring it, or it's something, something bad happened and now they know better. And just to let you know too, when venues require you to have insurance, usually it's just general liability. That's just, they want to have their end covered. They're not looking out for you. So that day of insurance oftentimes isn't covering your gear or things like errors and omissions, which we'll talk about in a moment, okay? So let's talk about the coverage that you should consider, okay? There are 3 types of coverage that are super important. The first one is equipment. The second is general liability, okay? And this third one is really important to listen, guys, so don't scroll away. This one's important because most photographers don't have it because they don't know about it, and a lot of insurance carriers do not cover this. It's called errors and omissions, okay? So the 3 types, again, that you want to consider getting in your policy is equipment, general liability, and errors and omissions, okay? So we're going to talk a little further about each of these. Equipment coverage basically covers you if something is stolen or lost. Let's say you're at an airport and you're flying to a wedding and you had to check some luggage and it got lost. How many times are airports losing luggage? That is a huge liability to you, not only because your gear got lost. What if it's for a wedding, and how are you supposed to perform after that? Okay, so equipment, if it's lost or stolen, that's it's covered with this equipment coverage. If you drop a lens, if you drop your laptop on the tile and it is destroyed, that will help cover that for you, okay? If and you have to understand too, this coverage depends on your plan, whether they cover it at 100% or less. That's why you got to ask a lot of questions and get all these details, okay? But that's basically what equipment coverage is. When we're talking about general liability, that's oftentimes what venues request of you if you don't have your own full policy already. And that is something like if a client falls and gets hurt during a session, you're covered for that. If you somehow cause damage to a property that you're working at, you need to understand that most of the time we're working on someone else's property, whether it is owned by the city, the county, or it's private property. And this is a note to yourself that you need to make sure to know this if you do any kind of work on your own personal property, okay? If you're conducting business on your own property, general liability typically does not cover that. If you do a session on your own land, if you have a studio in your home or on your property, general liability typically does not cover that. You need to consider something called business property insurance, okay? So if you're ever considering working from your home, having a studio, doing sessions, if you have a great piece of property, awesome. But you're going to need a little bit more than what we're talking about tonight. Again, that's why you need to get an agent, speak to them specifically about your business so they can determine what kind of coverage that you need to help you best, okay? But again, if you are doing any kind of work on your own property, general liability typically does not cover that. The third one that we mentioned before that most photographers don't have because most don't know about it because a lot of insurance carriers do not cover it, it's called errors and omissions, okay? It's also called professional liability. So you might see that on some of the websites or when you talk to an agent. Also, I looked at PPA today just to make sure that's the Professional Photographers of America site, and they actually call it data loss and dissatisfied clients, which is actually what specifically that is. But you can see it listed as one of three ways. All right, so with errors and omissions, that coverage basically will take care of you if you have a client who feels that you did not provide the services that were laid out in your contract, whether that incident is actual or it's perceived, okay? And that's important to know that. Excuse me. If you forget a detail that they specified before a wedding or a shoot, that will help cover you with that. If you miss the first kiss at a wedding, say a small child runs into the aisle and bumps into you and you miss the first kiss, and the bride does not care, the couple does not care, and they are angry and want to sue, that's what this type of coverage will help you with. You need to understand that in some states, they can sue you for the entire amount of the wedding, if not more, for something like that. Important to know, okay? That's why errors and omission is just so important. This also covers things like SD card corruption. How many times has that happened? I had one that snapped in two just from pulling it out of my card reader. Thank goodness I always have a dual card slot with my cameras, and so I've always got a backup. But really, how often does that happen? It happens a lot. You see it in groups all the time. People will post absolutely panicking because their SD card went corrupt or something happened, and they're like, oh my God, I have 3 sessions on this, or I have a day of mini sessions or a wedding. You don't want to have to panic over those things. So errors and omissions is so important to consider. And remember, not all insurance companies offer that. So look for one that does, okay? So are there any questions so far? Next, I'm going to tell you about where you can go and look for insurance that, give you some names so you know how to have a resource for this. And guys, it's storming pretty bad here. If you're local to me in Florida, you've probably got this going on too, but so far my reception's good. Just let me know if it gets choppy. All right, so there's not any questions about that. Let's talk about resources to get insurance, okay? I personally use Package Choice, okay? Go to their website, it's packagechoice.com. Do not really be concerned about the fact that it looks a little rudimentary. They are up and legit. They're actually a derivative of Hill and Usher. If you haven't heard of Hill and Usher before, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have. It's a common insurance carrier. They're a derivative of that, and they do cover errors and omissions. They also have drone coverage. So if you have a drone, you might want to look into them because those can get quite expensive. Also, if you have a drone, just be careful because there are aviation laws that apply to you. You can't just fly that wherever you want to. So insurance coverage and being familiar with the laws for drones is important too. But Package Choice covers all of those things. It's really, really nice. So highly recommend them. The Hartford is another group. Also, if you are a member of Professional Photographers of America, they have a discounted plan through your membership. I can't remember which company it is through, but I looked today to double check because I did not see this before, but they had errors and omissions. So I'm really happy about that because I don't think they had that in the past, and so it would have been something I recommend. But if you have a membership to PPA, definitely check that out, okay? So what I do want you to know is that these plans can be anywhere depending on how much gear you have and what type of coverage you need. It can be anywhere from $300 to $600 a year, okay? And oftentimes these companies will allow you to pay monthly. Personally, I pay straight out for the whole year. And the reason why is when you pay monthly, oftentimes there is a larger fee that you're gonna pay total for the year. They just break it up and add a few bucks on per month to give you that courtesy option to pay that way. But what I personally do is I just pay outright. And then I just pretend that I have a bill every month. And so I put that money into my business account. And we're saying $300 to $600 a year, guys. That's 25 to 50 bucks a month. I mean, most people spend more than that at Starbucks. So I just personally plan for it. And I put that amount in my account each month so that when it comes time to pay that bill, it's there in full. That's just how I personally work my finances. I find that a lot easier than all of a sudden having a chunk of money that I owe. So if you haven't thought of it that way, I hope that tip helps a little bit. So we did have a question from Amanda earlier today, and what I posted about talking about the subject tonight, and she had asked, are there any drawbacks to single day as needed insurance coverage? I feel yes, that it does. Because for a number of reasons, but first of all, if you get day of insurance, and for those of you who don't know what that might be, if you are a photographer who does not have insurance and you're going to be, let's say, doing a wedding at a local venue, a lot of times the venues want proof of insurance. And if you don't have it, then they will recommend at least getting day of insurance, so it covers your general liability basically for that day. It can be anywhere from $60 to $80. It just kind of depends on the type of coverage you're getting and the company. But when it's that much money, just after a few events, you pretty much have paid quite a bit, if not close to, it depends on the plan, the amount that you would per year anyway to be covered every day, plus have better coverage. Because again, a lot of times day of insurance is just general liability. And like I said, that's typically what venues are looking for you to have on hand. So that's a perspective I want you to think about. And it's important because any day that you don't have coverage puts you at risk of not being able to replace your broken or stolen gear. I mean, who has that kind of money? You know, it's thousands of dollars, guys. Even if you just have a couple lenses and let's say a couple bodies and a flash, that can be, you know, and add your laptop and everything in it, especially if you have a Mac, that could be $8,000 right there alone. So it's so much easier to rest assured that you have this insurance that's going to help provide for you in a time of need. Okay. What are you going to do if you're sued and you become responsible for lawyer, court, and lawsuit fees? Okay. Any day you don't have insurance outside of that day of insurance, you're at high risk. This is an expensive career that we are in. Okay. We use a lot of high-end equipment that does not cost little bucks. It is expensive. And it's not like anyone can, or most people can just at the drop of a hat replace a whole set of stolen gear. It doesn't work that way. Or even a single lens. Those are thousands of dollars for some of those guys. So that's why I think it's a drawback to just have day of. It basically just covers your general liability. You might be able to get more than that. You'd have to pay a lot more of a fee, which pushes you even closer to what you would pay total for a whole year's worth of insurance anyway. So it's definitely something to think about. Like I said, if you're paying $300 to $600 a year for insurance, and that's, you know, including errors and admissions, it equates to $25 to $50 a month. Seriously. So it's something that I really want you guys to think about. So that's kind of all I have on insurance. It's not that complicated. It's just a matter of, you know, you want to get that general liability, you want to get your gear covered, and you also want to have errors and omissions. Those are the three primary things that you really want to look for when you are shopping for insurance and looking to speak to an agent. Just make sure that you're very detailed about all of the things that you have that you need and want covered. Make sure that you're detailed about the type of business that you have with these insurance companies so they can help you to be covered appropriately. And when I say get detailed about your gear and your supplies, if you travel with your laptop, or if your laptop is a major part of your business, which it is, or your desktop, whatever, you want to make sure though, especially if you're taking it around with you places, that that's covered under your plan. Not just your camera gear, but other things too, like your computer supplies. If you have hard drives, you know, any of those things, imagine if you had all of your gear and everything that you needed to conduct your business in one huge container. What are all those supplies? Okay, so don't forget the things that you may not be considering, like your laptop or your hard drives, all those things. Very, very important. Backup batteries, backup, you know, it may sound like that's peas and carrots, but when you add those things together, they add up to a large amount of money. Okay, so do you guys have any questions about that? And I know last time, like a lot of you were driving home from work, so it was kind of quiet. It feels like it's the same way tonight. So if you guys are driving, no need to comment now. Please be safe. You can listen, but don't worry about commenting. You can comment later. But if you guys end up having questions later, let me know. I hope this was helpful for you. I wanted to keep this short and sweet tonight. And please let me know what topics you guys would like to hear more about. If there's any areas of your business that you're struggling in or things that you don't know a lot about and you'd like to learn more, let me know. I had someone from TikTok that joined us here, and she had mentioned wanting to get more into alternative photography, into that niche and understanding what it was and how to really get into that. And I would love to talk about that if you guys are interested in that too. I thought that was a really good suggestion. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you have a great evening, and I will talk to you guys live again soon. Have a good night.